Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in this morning. Let's first double check the audio and please let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. We will be using the question panel on the right side of your screen, and you can use this panel to send us all of your questions throughout the webinar. So if you look into your screen on the right side of your panel, you'll have the question panel, and you will be able to use this panel to send us all of your comments and questions, as well as letting us know that the audio is loud and clear. Thank you, Mr. Wade. Okay, so now let's just wait a couple of minutes for everyone to join in, and then we'll be starting our webinar in about 2 or 3 minutes. A quick reminder that all of the stock that you will review on this webinar, we have it on our warehouse in Miami as well as in Texas, and is ready for delivery. So we'll start in about 2 minutes. Just waiting for everyone to join in, and we'll start. Okay, so I think now we'll be ready to start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our ICOM webinar, our Reliable Marine Radio Communication Solutions webinar. And a quick reminder that this webinar will be recorded and sent to your email right after the webinar. I would like to welcome Alejandro Echeverri from ICOM, who will be our presenter for today's webinar. Please send us all of your questions during the webinar. We'll be using the question panel that we just used, that is on the right side of your screen, to answer all of them. And at the end of the webinar, we'll have a quick Q&A panel to answer all of your questions. Well, for those of you just joining in, welcome. And Alejandro, we're ready to start.
Thank you so much, Victor. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alejandro Echeverri. I'm the technical support and training manager for ICOM America in the Latin and Caribbean region. I'm involved in this field since around 30 years ago, and I'm having the big opportunity to transfer my acknowledgement. It's not too much, but I try to transfer my acknowledgement to you guys. Today we are talking about the marine radio communication solutions. ICOM already has a very big an important portfolio about marine radios. So we are going to talk about some functions, on specific functions. We need to use radio communications in the marine field, and to talk about our portfolio for handheld radios and fixed mount radios.
Hello, Alejandro. I don't know if your audio, um,
Sorry.
you
Okay,
now. Yes.
I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, no problem.
Okay. Who's using the marine radios? Usually, the marine radios are using for fishing boats. Uh, is used for uh, pleasure pleasure boats or something wrong. Uh, cruise ships and probably cargo and work vessels. I don't know what happened with the screen because I know showing. Uh, Probably you can help me, Victor, because I know I can see the
Can you
slide.
go back one slide just to check if it's something that is not loading correctly? Let's just go back
Yes,
one slide.
this is the slide back.
Those are the cargo
Pleasure
ships.
boat,
And if
cruise
you go
ship.
forward, maybe it was just a
I
little
don't
bit
know why.
slow at the time.
Okay, let's let's
Oh, it
let's
seems.
continue.
Yeah, let's
Um,
skip that one.
okay, the it's used also for Coast Guard. Of course, it's very usable for Army, Marines, and Navy uh, institutions or groups. Uh, as I said some minutes ago, it is important that the marine radios can have great features and functions. No any VHF radio can be used for marine communications. Uh, uh, it's very important to know this issue because some people in many countries uses non-marine radios to to communicate between uh, vessels or between ships or between boats, and this is not allowed for regulation. So in this small presentation, I will try to show you some functions and an important feature radios must have uh, for marine communications. The first one is floating. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know why there's no showing the picture, but the first one is floating. The floating it's a function where ICOM was pioneered the in the field uh, doing their VHF and HF radios. Uh, this function for floating, where a radio is dropped into the water, the radio can float, including when the radio is attached with the battery and the antenna. Additional to the option to float, the radio can flash. So that means the radio light up the red LED and the display and also the keyboard backlight for an easy location. Let me try if a small video can be shown. I would try to. No, something wrong with the presentation, Victor. I don't know what happened because I have here a picture and this next it's a video. Uh,
Let's try it. If you go out of the full screen mode, really quick, just to check if that's the issue.
okay,
If you go out just to a regular presentation, and let's check if that fixes the problem.
okay. Let me. I think it's now working. Let me try. No. I don't know why. Slow it.
From there, we can see the ICOM logo, and now we can see your desktop. But let's go back to PowerPoint and check if we can check the video directly on the slides without going into the presentation mode. From there, maybe if you can, there we can
Let
see
me switch.
the image. Yes. So now let's go back and then click exactly there. Perfect.
Okay. Now you can see the picture, right?
Yes, we see the ICOM radio. Perfect. Yes, now we can see it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Alejandro.
That's the floating function that I say and the flashing function. As you can see, the red LED and the backlight keyboard, it's turned on when the radio is dropped into the water. A small video, we can see these functions. This is basically to help the people to find easily the radio when it's dropping into the water. Another important function, another important feature is called IP protection or ingress protection. The ingress protection is a standard. It's a standard rating that defines the level of protection provided by the enclosure to prevent the foreign objects like dust and liquids go inside the equipment, the electrical equipment. It is not only for radio communication. It is used for many electrical equipment. So the ingress protection is the acronym of the IP. It is combined with two numbers or two digits. The first digit is the scale for solid particles that can be inside the electrical equipment. This scale it's used from 1 to 6, where 1 is the minimum protection, in this case the radio has, or number 6 is the maximum protection the radio already has. The second digit is related to liquids, water. The scale is going to 1 to 8, where 1 is the minimum protection, 8 is the maximum protection. In this example, we're talking about the IP67. That means the radio is completely protected for dust and almost completely protected for liquids. So that means the radio can be uh, uh, can have any temporary immersion into the water up to 1 meter depth and 30 minutes. Okay. For our radios, not only the handheld radio, the picture only shows the handheld radios, but for all our marine radios, we have a specific IP protection. Protection that are coming from IP access. The IP access, when the letter X is replacing the first digit, that means that this is the maximum protection, means 6, or was not tested for that radio specifically. So IP6 resists or is protected against water projected by powerful jets from any direction. Radio can support any kind of powerful jets, water powerful jets. IPX7, say in the past example, it's protected for temporary immersion in water up to 1 meter or 3.3 feet for 30 minutes. And IPX, it's the maximum protection an electronic or electric equipment already has. This protection means that the radio can be, in our case as a manufacturer, we certified that the radio can be in the water more than 2 hours and in a depth around 2 meters. Also can be operated under the water. Obviously, it's impossible that the transmission can achieve the target, but it's possible to operate the radio under the water. Another very good function we have, it's the aquaquake. The aquaquake is a patented function that ICOM creates to allow the water log or the water receiver that covers the speaker and microphone can be expelled or make the expulsion of this water from the speaker and microphone, preventing the audio in out. That means when I make a call with water in the mic, the audio can be degraded. So in this case, we are preventing this situation. Same thing with the inbound calls. If speaker it's covered with water, the audio can be distorted. This is a small video about it. As you can see, with a high tone frequency, we can put out that water or make the expulsion of the water that covers the speaker. Another advanced functions or features radio already have is the audio equalizer. The audio equalizer enhances the intelligibility of received calls with a wide frequency range and a flat frequency response for a powerful yet clear audio. That means there's some language like, I don't know, German or English, already have some strong words where people talks with that strong words. Some low tones can be transmitted, so the communication probably it's a little bit distorted. Same with language like Chinese, when they have a lot of high tones words, and when the radio receives that calls, audio can be distorted. So in this case, when the audio equalizer is turned on, the radio generates a flat frequency response for that audio to transmit and allow the receiver or the end user to have a very clear audio. Another filter we have is the active noise canceller. The active noise canceller It's a digital or removes digitally the background noise for both transmit and receive audios and provides a clear communication in a noise maritime environment. Like in the picture, it's the engine room. So in the engine room, the noise level is very high, and people can talk without any trouble from this place because the filter can cancel all the environment noise and just transmit the voice and just transmit the frequency of the voice, achieving a very clear and good audio. Uh, a very important function is the identification and emergency functions. Um, this this part is very important because since around 30 years ago, uh, the the Federal Communications Commission uh, say that all marine radios must have or must send the identity of the ship station. So in this case, the MMSI is the Maritime Mobile Service Identity. That is the number, it's a 9-digit number that identifies a ship. When the owner of a vessel uh, make the subscription or their communication radio, uh, this big commission, like Federal Communications Commission or the both U.S. or the CTOM or the U.S. Power Squadron, any organization of those, uh, request some detailed information about the size of the vessels, well, a lot of information to assign this number. This is a specific and unique number around the world for that vessel, and it is included into the radio for identification in each one of the communication, especially for security and emergency calls. DSC. DSC is another requirement for marine radios. DSC is the digital selective call. This is an standard. This is a specific standard to make or transmit digital calls or message. This function, uh, it's semi-automatic. That means user can do it, or the radio can do it. Depends of the trouble the vessel already has. This selective call, it's placed in some classes. Uh, these classes are from the class A, class B, class D, and class D. Uh, Depends of the band of the radios, depends of the kind of the radio it's is using for, etc. So it's a really huge um, function that to explain it will be a little bit difficult due to our time limitations. But if you need some information, just let us know to send you some information about how the DSC is working or how the DSC works for your race. It's very important that DSC only works if the radio already has setting up the MMSI. Um, the I forget to say that MMSI can be setting up just one time. Uh, if a user, the end user can do it at the first time when they buy the radios. If if the owner want to sell the radio, or the vessel is changing the owner, that number must be changed. So in that way, you must to say, uh, or the owner must to go to a dealer or to ICOM directly to change this number, because it's only allowed to do it through the cloning software, and that cloning software is restricted use only for dealers. Okay, and finally, we have the GMDSS, Global Maritime Distress and Safety System. What that means? It's a, set, a set of safety procedures, equipment, and communications protocol designed to increase the safety, to facilitate navigation and rescue vessels in distress. So it's very important. Most of the commissions or regulation uh, standards about maritime, global maritime system uh, request that the radios must have this kind of function. In that way, some of the radios, especially all of the fixed mode radios, already have a direct access to distress calls. Distress calls is an emergency call. That emergency call includes not only a selective calling or DSC, includes also positioning, uh, speed, etc. And we can select also different kind of DSC calls, like I don't know, firing the board, etc. Many different emergency functions. Another functions radios or maritime radios already must have, it's the prevention function. Obviously, it's not a, a requirement. It's just a function that some radios must have to prevent some emergencies in the sea, like the automatic identification system. Um, Not all of the radios can receive information like this. As you can see in the picture, the AIS, it's a system uh, to be capable to provide the positioning, the identification, and another information about the chip or other chips, um, and to the coastal authorities uh, in automatic form. That means radios can receive information. Some radios can receive that information and can pull or display in the screen, in the display, that information, like this one. It's showing that a radio is calling from a DSC class A the MMSI. The CPA means is the closest point of approach, and TCPA is the time to closest point of approach. SOG and COG is for terrestrial coordinates, range and bearing. So it's a basic information that final user and the coastal authorities already needs to know where's the vessel or where's the boat's positioning in some area. Okay, next we have the ATA. The ATA, it's more for transponders and more for radars. This function, I'm just talking a little bit about this, but it's not included in any of the radios. It's just for transponder or radars, like the ATA. It's an automatic track 8. It's just to allow to receive manually the tracking targets. The equipment calculates the target speeds and courses and display the results in a numeric display and by vectors. So the end user can know how the closest landmass on another vessels around there. And another very important is the ARPA. It's also a function for radars. The system can calculate the tracked object course, speed, and closest point of approach, thereby knowing if there is a danger of collision with other ships or landmass. Okay, we are going to talk about the handheld radios. Handheld radios, I already made a chart with two different vectors: the high price, high performance, or the low price with lower performance. In this case, we are talking that the minimum or basic features we have is the ICM25 radio. The next one is the ICM37. The next one is the ICM73 and ICM73 plus. Another scale is the ICM85 and ICM85UL. We will talking about the M85UL radio because it's not it's not really in that scale because it's a little bit higher price than others due to their features and their functions. So we are going to talk a little bit more later. And finally, the ICM94D. All those radios are handheld radios. That means they already have batteries for their operation. Okay, some functions. The aquaquake. We already know what the aquaquake means. So it's a function that all our marine radios already have. The second one is the weather channel. This weather channel includes weather alerts. Instant access to channel 16. The channel 16, in some cases, is the operations and emergency calls, or you can program or you can have access to another specific channels, like the channel 70. The channel 70 is the DSC emergency calls. Um, about the battery already have each one of the radios. Um, I don't want to talk about how many hours power life each one of the batteries already have, because it's a little bit difficult to warranty that. In this case, in this example, 11 hours will be the radio working. Why? Because because radio radio it's like the mobile phone. Uh, it depends how how much you are using it uh, to determine how many hours your radio is working or your mobile phone is working daily. If a guy like me that I'm continuously browsing and calling and talking, etc., probably my radio, my mobile phone can achieve 11 hours in this example. Uh, Probably just 4, 6, 8 hours. So it's very difficult to to warranty this time. So this time is because traditionally in brochures and all the marketing presentation, people request how many hours can be or can achieve the battery, but it's related to a standard, to international standard called 5590. The 5590 standard, it's explaining like 5% of the time used is receiving, 5% of the time used is transmitting, and 90% of the time used is in a standby. In that way, the first radio, the M25, allows about 11 hours. The M37 allows around 12 hours with a 2,350 milliamps battery. Um, the M73, it's around 16 hours. The M85, it's around 14 hours. And the M94 with a 2,400 milliamps radio, it's up to 10 hours. Different RF powers for each one of the model radios, like the M25, just 5 watts, 5 watts with 2.3 amps consumption in transmission. The M37, 6 watts with 2.7 amps in transmission. The M73, 6 watts also. The M85, 5 watts. And the M94, 6 watts. The IP protection for each one of the radios, it's probably the same, except the M73, that is X8, that means it's maximum protection for dust and water, and it can be into the water up to 2 hours for more than 2 meters depth. We are talking in this part about the audio. Uh, the the audio in this case is 550 milliwatts. 550 milliwatts. Um, the M37 700 milliwatts. The M73 also 700 milliwatts. That 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 radio includes audio equalizer and noise canceller. Um, the M85 it's 700 milliwatts with an function used as a scrambler. Scrambler it's something like encryption for analog communication. That scrambler give the end user to configure it or to setting up to 32 different keys. And finally, the M94, it's 1,500 milliwatts with audio equalizer, with noise canceller, and also with clamp. The function floating on flash, we already talked about, is just allowed for the M25, M37, and M94. The M73 and M85 is not available. Some other functions for emergency are in the M85 and M94. The MOB, it's men overboard. It's the function when part of the crew it's out of the vessel, it's out of the boat for some reason. Radio immediately send an emergency call for the group and other radios. Men down is when someone falls in the board. It's also an emergency thing. And the lone worker used only in the M85 is more used for land mobile radio. It's the reminder that the end user must to make a call for each or for a specific period of time. The radio reminds that the user must to push to talk or must to make a call or must to press a button to say that he's okay. If something wrong, if the user doesn't the user didn't answer a call or didn't push the PTT, etc., the radio immediately generates an emergency call. The M73 allows to record the last call up to 1 minute. So it's a function that some users request to us, especially for work vessels that need to certify that something is going okay. Okay, that function is not allowed for other radios, only for the M73. This function, the next function, the 100 land mobile radio channels, is only allowed for the M85. The M85, it's a marine radio with some land mobile radio. That means the user can use the land mobile channels in the land, in the ground, when to talk with other radios, with other land mobile radios. And Finally, the ICM94 already have more functions like the built-in GPS. They don't need mm, to to use another equipment for GPS positioning, and also have navigation. Navigation means that the end user can uh, create a navigation pad with interest points uh, to make a road. This is the navigation, so the end user can see in their screen the bearing, the road, the interesting point, etc. And finally, it's an RX AIS DSC call. That means a radio can show in its screen the the positioning of other vessel or other radios. Um, as I said some minutes ago, ICM85UL it's a different radio. It is important because it's an intrinsically safe radio. It's used for specific fields like oil and gas, uh, like petroleum companies, etc. Uh, this M85 already has a UL certification. The UL certification, it's a certification for intrinsically safe radios. The certification or this radio, when it's certified for UL, is because was added a blue line in the LCD is the way to recognize the conventional ICM85 with the ICM85UL. Is the way to know the difference between two radios because apparently they are completely the same. The M85UL don't have the same battery of the M85 conventional. This is a certified battery. It's a different battery. It's a battery with a lot of protection, especially for heater and for when it's dropped in the floor to avoid or prevent that the lithium ion can have contact with the oxygen. Why? Because the lithium ion in contact with the oxygen, can explode. So that is why it's a different battery. Also, the housing or the case, it's an antistatic case to prevent generate some antistatic spark to create some troubles in a atmosphere or probably explosion atmospheres. And their internal boards and components like the on-off and volume mechanisms are protected to avoid any gas or vapor inside the radio to avoid any catastrophe or emergency. Okay, this certification it's divided in some classes and some divisions. The class one it's classified for flammable liquids and vapor or combustible liquid vapors. In atmospheres where the explosive material are uh, condensed or normally used, but with controlled conditions. This certification is it's classified with a specific groups. The group C and group D is related to ethylene and propane. This, those are vapors and, and, and gases that can be or where the radio can be used. Another class is the class 2 or combustible dust. The class 2 combustible dust is also used in areas or atmospheres where the materials exist in a controlled condition. These materials are metal dust like aluminum, magnesium, etc., or carbon dust, according to the group E or the group F and the group G. Carbon dust like coal, carbon black, charcoal, and coke, and non-conductive dust like flour, grain, wood, plastic, chemical, and fiber. And finally, the class 3. The class 3, it's fibers or materials that can be fly in the atmosphere. So the radio uh, can be used in this environment with temperatures up to 160 Celsius degrees. So it's important to know this because it's a different radio. Okay. Uh, Now we are going to continue with fixed mode radios. It's a little bit easy because we understand all of the features and functions. In this case, also we have the same chart with DM220, DM230, 330, and DM424, and the last one, DM605. We don't include the M510 because it's a really new radio, but probably we need to make a specific webinar only to talk about this radio. The M220 and the 330 and 424 is protected by X7IP standard, and the M605 is IPX8. So it's the maximum protection the fixed mode radios already have. About the RF power, all radios are transmitting to 25 watts is the maximum power allowed by the maritime authorities. So all the radios can have more or less the same consumption in transmission. It's around 5 to 6 amps, and also receiving they have some difference, like the M424 or 605. It's because those radio has an horn system and public address system or foghorn system that needs a more powerful to send the audio to this system. I will try to explain a little bit later. The aquaquay function, weather channel and weather alert. We already know what it is. Um, Most of the radios or marine radios uh, needs an external GPS or navigation system equipment. Uh, that connectivity is made through an MEA 0183 uh, protocol. It's a protocol established for marine communications. So you can use any kind of GPS or any kind of navigation system connected to the ICOM radios because they are talking in the same language. Class D, we already talk about the DSC calls. So the M220 radio only has a call for Class D DSC calls or selective calls, but they can achieve to make a selective call ship to ship. How this works? Uh, Radios that can make selective calls, they can use it to communicate between two vessels or two ships. Ship-to-ship call means that the user that is generating the call can uh, input the 9 digits MMSI number from other chip to call directly that chip without communicate to a group or to coastal authorities. Um, so in that case, the M220 can do that.
Alejandro,
The yes,
just a quick change on the schedule. Since we are about to finish the session for this hour, I think all this information from ICOM, I think it will be interesting to have a second part of this webinar due to the valuable information that you're presenting us. And I don't know if by this, until this slide, how many other slides are we missing in case that we need to schedule a second webinar?
no, we just need 3 slide more. That's it. Or
Okay,
we are finishing with this features and functions, and 2 or 3 slides more, and we can finish. Okay.
all right, perfect. So that way we can continue.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The external GPS uh, for the M uh, for the M 220 is just external, but the M 330, 424, and 605 already have built-in GPS. The differences it's that the two final one radios uh, can understand a little more uh, protocols established around the world. Some of those, like the European protocols or the Japanese protocols, that those protocols can achieve a little bit more precision of the positioning or the geopositioning. The active noise canceller, only the two final models can do it. The PA or public address or horn, it's allowed to do it with the 424G, and horn and foghorn, it's allowed to be with the M605. Only the 605 can be connected with the new NMA 2000 connectivity. It's a higher level or higher tier of communication can transmit a little bit more information that the NMEA 1083. So that's the difference. And the M605, it's also an AIS receiver. So that means in the screen, the radio can display the closest radio and all the information for those vessels. The M06, it's the winner of an award for 5 years in the row. It's since 2017 to 2021 was the winner for the NMEA award as a best VHF radio. Now we are the winners again, but with the M520 radio. Just as I mentioned, the M605 allows to put different kind of communications system. Is a system. It's not just a radio. It's a communication system for vessels, for boats. In this example, we can choose one radio in the cockpit. The radio installed in there is the place where the captain is driving the vessel. You can put one common head in the office. You can put another common mic in the flight bridge or in the engine room. It's a combination we can have. Another combination is 3 common mics plus the M605, or 2 common heads, 1 common mic, and the M605. And that's it. Oh my God. Live to work.
Thank you so much, Alejandro. Yes, great webinar. Thank you so much for all this valuable information. And let's then just really quick check if any of the attendees may have a question about this information from the ICOM Marine Radios. So a quick reminder that this webinar it's also being recorded, and we'll be sending the recording to your email right after the webinar. Thank you, Mr. Wade. Alejandro just saying thanks that he appreciates the webinar. So thank you, Mr. Wade, for your time this morning and for being part of this ICOM webinar that we'll be having in the future with other topics for land radios and other areas of ICOM. So if you may have any other question, we'll be adding the contact information from AppCom on the follow-up email. So please let us know if you may have a project coming up or if you have any questions, technical questions about the radios, and we'll be happy to help you. We have our technical team ready to help you. And in case that you need a quote, also all of our sales representatives are ready to send you a quote of any of the products that you review on this presentation. So Alejandro, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
No, just to say thank you so much for being with us, and hope to talk in a new webinar about any portfolio ICOM can bring for us.
Thank you so much, Alejandro. Yes, and we'll be publishing new webinars throughout the year about the other areas of the portfolio of ICOM. So please keep checking our website, appcom.net. On the webinar section, you'll find all the webinars that we have scheduled for January. And now we have around 10 webinars and 2 more for February. So thank you again for your time this morning. and we'll see you on our next session. Alejandro, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you tomorrow for our Spanish version of this webinar.
Okay, thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.